The first thing I noticed when I walked into the wedding hall wasn't the flowers, or the music, or even the bride standing. At the center of it all, it was the way my stepsister looked at me. Her eyes traveled from my simple navy dress to my flat shoes, then back up again, lingering just long enough to say everything she didn't bother putting into words. I should have turned around right then, but I didn't. I adjusted the small clutch in my hand and kept walking, each step feeling heavier than the last. The hall was glowing with gold light, filled with people who belonged to her world, expensive suits, perfect hair, easy laughter. I felt like a smudge on a polished mirror. "Emma," she said when I reached her, her smile tight and rehearsed. "You made it." "I wouldn't miss it," I replied, even though part of me had wanted to. She leaned in slightly, her voice lowering just enough to keep the conversation private. "I wasn't sure you'd get time off. You know, with your job and all." There it was. My job meant long shifts, tired feet, and a paycheck that didn't match the elegance of this room. My job meant I didn't belong here. "I managed," I said quietly. She gave a small laugh, turning to one of her bridesmaids. "This is my stepsister, Emma. She's a nurse." Just a nurse. She didn't say the word just out loud, but it was there, woven into her tone, into the way her friends gave polite nods before turning. Back to more interesting conversations. I felt the familiar sting, the one I'd learned to swallow over the years. Growing up, my stepsister had always been the one people noticed. Beautiful, confident, effortlessly admired. I was the quiet one, the one who studied, who worked, who stayed up late helping Mom when things got hard. When I chose nursing, it wasn't because it was easy. It was because it mattered. But in rooms like this, mattering didn't shine the way money did. "Enjoy the ceremony," she said, already distracted, already turning away. I found a seat near the back. As the music began, I watched her walk down the aisle, radiant in white, every eye fixed on her. She looked happy, truly happy, and for a moment, despite everything, I felt it too. Maybe this was what she had always wanted. The groom stood at the altar, tall and composed, his smile steady as he watched her approach. Beside him stood an older man, his father, I assumed. He had a kind face, the kind that held stories behind it. Something about him tugged at my memory, but I couldn't place it. The ceremony was beautiful. Vows exchanged, promises made, applause filling the room. I clapped along with everyone else, though my mind felt distant, like I was watching someone else's life unfold. At the reception, the music grew louder, the laughter freer. I stayed near the edge of the room, nursing a glass of water, trying not to feel out of place. "Emma?" I turned at the sound of my name. The older man from the altar stood in front of me now, looking at me closely as if searching through a memory. "Yes," I said, unsure. His eyes widened slightly. "It is you, isn't it?" I blinked, confused. "I'm sorry, have we met?" He let out a soft breath, almost a laugh, but there was emotion behind it. "You probably don't remember me, but I remember you." A strange feeling settled in my chest. "2 years ago," he continued, his voice quieter now. "City General Hospital, my wife. She was admitted after a stroke." My heart skipped. "I was there every day," he said. "And you were there too." And suddenly I remembered. The long nights, the dim hospital lights, a fragile woman who could barely speak, a husband who never left her side. "You used to sit with her," he said, his voice thickening. "Even when your shift was over, you'd read to her, talk to her like she could understand everything." I felt my throat tighten. "She couldn't respond," I said softly. "But we believe they can still hear." "She did hear you," he said firmly. "I know she did." For a moment, the noise of the room faded. "She passed a week later," he went on, his eyes glistening. "But those last days, they were peaceful. Because of you." I didn't know what to say. "I never got the chance to thank you," he added. "You left before I could?" I swallowed hard. I was just doing my job. He shook his head gently. "No, you were doing something far more than that." Before I could respond, he placed a hand lightly on my shoulder and turned slightly, raising his voice just enough to carry. "Everyone," he said. The conversations around us softened. "This young woman," he continued, "is the reason my wife's final days were filled with dignity and kindness." Heat rushed to my face. "Please, you don't have to." "Yes, I do," he said, not unkindly. "Because people should know what real grace looks like." The room was quiet now. "She's not just a nurse," and he said, his words clear and steady. She's someone who gave my family comfort when we needed it most, and I will be grateful to her for the rest of my life. I felt every eye in the room shift toward me. For a second, I wanted to disappear. Then I saw my stepsister. She stood a few feet away, her expression frozen, her confidence shaken in a way I had never seen before. Our eyes met. Something passed between us. Not anger, not even embarrassment. Recognition. I looked back at the man in front of me. I didn't do it for thanks, I said quietly. I know, he replied. That's what makes it matter. The music slowly resumed, conversations picking up again. But something had changed. People looked at me differently now. Not with pity, not with dismissal, with respect. Later that evening, as I was about to leave, my stepsister approached me. Emma, she said, her voice softer than I had ever heard it. I turned. She hesitated, searching for words that didn't come easily to her. I didn't know. I nodded. You didn't ask. She winced slightly at that, then gave a small, honest smile. I'm glad you came. Me too, I said. And for the first time, it felt true. As I stepped outside, the cool night air wrapped around me, grounding me. The sounds of the celebration faded behind closed doors. I looked down at my simple shoes. They weren't polished. They weren't expensive, but they had carried me through hospital corridors, through long nights, through moments that mattered more than anything money could buy. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel small. I felt exactly where I was meant to be,